In the fabled land of Northern California, nestled in the Valley of Sacramento, two friends begin a journey to enlighten the world about their experience living life as a Xennial. But what is a Xennial, you may ask? If you wish to know, then follow them on their adventures.
Welcome to the Xennial Chronicles. This is James.
This is Mike.
And we're here on hopefully our final podcast of our coronavirus shut-in, stay-in day, whatever it is, damn it. Mike is actually...
Corona Chronicles?
Yes, Mike is actually having computer problems at this point, and we're just barely able to get this going so we can get this last one recorded. And then he's got to figure out all the computer problems so we can get it put out there for you. Luckily...
Dude.
He only has to get one put out by this week, and he's got more time for the other ones.
Yeah, hopefully,
so that's a bonus.
To be completely honest, my hard drive is stuck in an infinite boot cycle. I will.
Why are there boots in your hard drive?
I don't know.
Does your hard drive need shoes? Does it have feet?
Yes,
it has feet.
It has feet.
Did you try flip flops? They're
tried.
Quite comfortable.
How
about house shoes, like the fuzzy ones on the inside? Moccasins, if you're a Native American. Moccasins. Did you try those? Because those might be comfy. Maybe they need arch supports. Boots really don't give you much arch support. I think you're abusing your hard drive's feet, and that's wrong of you, Mike.
I'm so sorry.
That's wrong.
Maybe
of you.
That's why it's freaked out at me.
I'm noticing something.
What?
You're right. When this whole coronavirus thing is over, when we're able to get back to our normal schedule of doing things,
yeah,
nighttime is the better time. Because I can already feel myself a little bit more mentally limber.
Don't you feel slightly more aware? Yeah, we started this at like noon, 1 o'clock,
something like that.
I'm
a little more limber mentally. My mind is doing its fascinating gymnastics.
I'm on high alert. I'm hoping my shit doesn't freak out on me here too. If it
He's
does, I'm going to lose my mind. He's talking about his computer, not
his actual fecal matter.
No.
We're just being clear.
That'd be strange.
Yes. So basically right now at this point, your computer's kind of fucked.
At least the desktop is,
proper?
Which sucks because I have a lot of data on the... I have a decent amount of data on the main drive, but I really should be okay still.
Yeah. It's just being able to get it back working so that you can actually manipulate the files to do the things you want to do with the files.
Right, exactly. Now, I do have most of my actual file data for like the session files is on a completely different hard drive, so that's a lot safer.
Yeah.
That's not the problem. It has to do with my boot drive. So my boot drive can change, but that just means I've been avoiding doing this. I might as well do it now.
Especially since
I've got time.
Especially since you're home.
Right.
You're not going to work.
So I should be good.
You know, this is the time I feel bad for like home invasion thieves at this moment in time because it's like, damn it, more people home.
Yeah,
damn it,
everybody's
what the
home.
Hell?
Yeah,
I can't put food on my kid's table because I can't steal from nobody. Damn it,
I can't steal from this other guy's table.
Damn it. Anyway, for this podcast, we're talking about.
We have gotten delirious.
We are talking about one of my favorite subjects. Not really, but yes, but yeah. It is. It's a subject I really like.
Is it?
It's a subject I like.
Oh, okay.
It's a subject that many people feel uncomfortable about. And when I originally approached Mike about talking about this subject, he was a little bit uncomfortable about it.
I feel like I might be a little uncomfortable now, but we'll see where things go.
Until I explain to him why this is relevant. I keep saying that word wrong. I'm mixing up consonants. Relevant to the Xennial experience.
Yes.
And
I would say so.
It is. It is. It's important for the experience of, I believe, all males in American society, but specifically the changes in this over our Xennial lifetime.
Everybody goes through this process. Like they pretty much all go through it in some degree.
In some degree or another, yes. What we're talking about is pornography.
Yep.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yep.
Wow, wow. Or... Hey, Chicka Bum Bum. If you get that reference, points to you. You're nerdy, and I like it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that one.
You don't know the Hey Chicka Bum Bum reference?
No. You don't have to explain it. Don't explain
anybody that knows the Hey Chicka Bum Bum reference, put it in the comments. Because, again, you're nerdy. I like it. So, we're talking about pornography, and specifically the changes in pornography that happened as a result of our technological changes. We've talked before about the technology changes that we've gone through with phones, with TV, with internet access. Mm-hmm. I do want to give a little brief discussion about the fact that pornography is definitely not a new thing.
No, it's been around for a very, 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 very long time.
They have been able to unearth tablets from 2000 BC in Mesopotamia. 2000 BC in Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia,
Wow.
by the way, is the area between the Tigris and Euphrates River
Wow.
in the Middle East. Technically where modern-day Iraq is.
Yeah.
That's kind of the birthplace of civilization.
Mm-hmm.
2,000 years ago, or 2000 BC, so like 4,000 years ago. 4,000 years ago.
Dang.
Got this? They have found tablets with a woman on her knees, a man behind her, having sex with her from behind,
Right.
well, what people would call doggy style. Those are the words I wanted to say. while, no, he's doing this to her while he is drinking a beer. Points, bro.
Wow.
Points.
Wow.
On this tablet. Dude tapping
Frat
that
house
ass.
smut, 4,000 years old, huh?
Yes, 4,000 years old.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Many of these would be found around centers that were part of the cult of Inanna.
I don't know what that is.
Inanna was a Sumerian goddess. She was a Sumerian goddess of sex and prostitution. Because back in ancient Sumer is kind of the first recorded civilization that we have
Oh.
in the Western world.
Oh.
They were the first, and the reason they're the first kind of recorded civilization, they were the first civilization to put things down in writing.
Oh, cool.
To have a form of writing that they actually wrote specific things, and they wrote on clay tablets.
Cool. Okay.
So we have some of their writings, are the earliest writings that we have. The Epic of Gilgamesh is related to, which is a Babylonian epic, is actually related to the Sumerian belief systems.
This just feels weird, like to hear something about that, and they're like, we have this old ancient
Yes.
artifact from history, and it just looks like some college doodle that some kid did.
It's people having sex. Well,
Yeah.
even previous to this, even if you talk previous to the 2000 BC thing, there were you often find Venus statues, what they call Venus
Yeah.
statues, which are statues that are depicting of a kind of rotund, possibly pregnant woman.
Yeah, goddess of fertility.
Symbolizing the kind of divine nature of women being pregnant and giving life.
Right.
But back in the Sumerian days, sex and prostitution were actually good business, and for the cult of Inanna, this goddess, everybody that was an adherent to her temple were prostitutes in some way or another. They were important people in the city. They were business leaders. In fact, funny enough, the old West here in America,
Yeah.
the Old West was almost entirely started by houses of prostitution in the various towns.
Really?
And those houses of prostitution would take care of schooling. They would take care of any kind of rudimentary health care that would happen. Anything that was done to build the town up.
Wow.
The madams who ran the houses of prostitution basically had almost as much power as the mayors or sheriffs of the various towns.
Whoa.
I mean, again, we had our Kurt Russell episode where we talked about Tombstone. The Earp family were pimps. They were in the prostitution business.
Yeah.
Because it was big business back then.
Yeah.
It was important business. And of course, once pictures started being able to be taken, actual photographs.
Yeah.
Once film was able to be, created, once the process of filming was created.
Yeah.
Within weeks of each one of those being created, pornography moved into those categories.
Oh,
But
yeah. As soon as the technology was developed, they were like,
Yeah.
hey, you know what we can do with this?
Previous to that, I
immediately.
mean, there are many, many paintings from the great masters in the Renaissance of naked women. There's naked statues of women.
Well, nudity and art and porn are completely different things.
Not necessarily. They can be different things, and yet they can also be the same things. There is some porn that is art, but not all porn is art.
Right.
So they can be the same, but not always are they the same.
Interesting. Okay, I can understand that.
But pornography started fairly early within the start again of filmmaking and of pictures. And for the most part, it was an underground thing for the first maybe couple of decades, even 100 or so years in photography.
Yeah.
There were some films that were titillating, but most of the films only went so far
Right.
in what they were doing. Same with the pictures, titillating, but only so far to a certain point.
Okay.
And it was very much underground, very much not talked about, very
Yeah,
much.
totally.
You had to be in the right situation to get these things.
Right.
But we see that there's a specific point where pornography becomes mainstream.
Yes.
And a couple of things happen all at the same time in the 60s. You have a couple of
This
magazines.
is when, so that's when it happened.
You have a
when
couple
porn
of
became a more
magazines-
mainstream kind
Yeah.
of a setup. Okay.
You have a couple of magazines that start around that time period with Playboy and Hustler.
Right.
Then you also have a movie that comes out in 1969. And in 1969, some interesting things happen in Denmark. I believe we discussed before about when we were talking about the guys who made the He-Man movie, the original Masters of the Universe He-Man movie.
Yes.
We were talking about they were involved in Danish porn originally. Remember?
Yes. Okay. That's right.
Well, that's because in 1969, Denmark decriminalized porn. They made it so that making porn movies and distributing
Wait,
porn...
it was a criminal act at that point?
It is in a lot of places.
Oh.
So they... and more importantly, it's not necessarily a criminal act to make them, but to distribute them,
Right.
it can be.
Right.
Denmark decriminalized
Yeah, what you do in the
porn.
privacy of your own home is one thing, but you start passing that around to people, and that's kind of an issue.
Exactly. At this point, there's a big boom in the porn industry in Denmark. Of course, it rises out of nothing,
Right.
as things tend to.
Well, that would make sense because finally, wait, it's legal. Boom.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's make some money off this.
Yeah.
But also in 1969, there is a movie that is made and released in the United States that is the first adult erotic film that actually displays or depicts explicit sex.
Really?
And it received a wide release originally in the U.S.,
Huh.
but helped to start some of the MPAA regulations that come into play.
This thing comes out in the theater, and the MPAA or the MPAA and the government and like all this stuff is like, whoa, we got to put a cap on this.
Well, and at
for
first,
like the right people.
This is one of those movies that because of who made this movie, it rides the line of is it porn or is it art? The movie is called The Blue Movie, and it's by Andy Warhol.
Shut
Andy
up.
Warhol made the movie.
Andy Warhol?
Yeah, which is why again part of the reason
No
it got
wonder
the
the
wide
Stones got him to do album covers and shit.
well, and that's part of the reason it got the wide distribution that it got. Because this is an artist doing an art film, right? It can't be something. It's art.
it's
but
art.
At the same
It can't
time,
be explicit.
It is explicit, but this starts what's
Right.
called the golden age of porn,
Wow.
where porn starts to explode in the United States with the magazines, with the films that start happening.
What year was this?
69 when this starts.
Yeah, it's like right. Wow.
And you start seeing theaters that start showing porn-only movies, and you have to be old enough to get into these theaters.
Right.
And there are many celebrities that have found themselves in those theaters and in awkward situations. Paul Rubens, sorry, dude. But this also inspires a lot of sex in mainstream movies. Specifically, this helps to inspire Caligula. And this
That was
helps
like
to,
one of the first wide released like X-rated movies, wasn't
yes,
it?
and it was fully X-rated.
Yeah.
I will say this much: the only kind of bonus to watching it nowadays is you do get to see a bunch of nude scenes of Helen Mirren when she was younger. Damn, she was hot then.
Huh.
She's still kind of hot now. I mean, if Helen Mirren says let's go for it, I might consider that. I'm just saying, she's still hot. Also, Last Tango in Paris, which is infamous.
Really?
Which is infamous for its scene of anal sex using butter as a lubricant.
I did not see that movie and did not know that was there.
That's the only part of it I know. I have not seen the film,
Really?
but it's not one that I'm interested in seeing. I'm not a huge. Oh God, what's his name? I can't even think of it now. Stanley Kowalski, from Streetcar Named Desire.
I've no Dennis Hopper.
No, not Hopper. Marlon Brando. I'm
Marlon
actually
Brando.
I'm not a Brando fan, especially in his older stuff.
Oh, okay.
When he became older,
Right.
not a big fan. And this
I
is
don't know
one
why I
that-
was thinking. You know, I was mixing it up with. For some reason, I was mixing it up with. I think Easy Rider is what I was mixing it up with.
Possibly.
Yeah. Whew, boy, that was a bad flub on my part.
But this kind of started the
This
revolution.
had Brando in it.
Yes, Brando is the one who has sex with the young girl in the butt
With butter.
with butter. Yes, pass the butter,
Huh.
or give me the butter, something like that. It's not a pleasant scene.
Huh.
Anywho,
That's wow. Okay.
you saw that this is kind of the start of the age of porn, and at that time, again, you had to go to specific porn theaters, or certain movies had kind of explicit scenes in them that really did not exist in movies before that.
Yeah.
Come into the 80s, and people start having They're cable. Cable becomes something bigger than, home cable TV at home. It becomes bigger than just having...
Wait, hold on.
so many-
You're going to skip like the porn industry of the 70s?
Not necessarily.
Like that's when it started to become like a viable industry.
With especially with having VHS, the possibility of VHS sales,
Yeah.
which came the end of the 70s and into the 80s. But no, I'm talking about in the 70s where the porn industry existed. You had to go to theaters to be able
Right.
to see this. You had to go to porn theaters, and they had, for the most part, kind of themed theaters because at that point you either went to a gay porn theater or you went to a straight porn theater,
Right.
Because you wouldn't be in the different areas,
Right.
if you didn't want to go there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, no, that's understandable.
So,
I mean, that's weird. That's more like it's kind of understandable for I didn't mean it's understandable in general. I mean, it's understandable
Yeah.
for the era.
Yeah,
Like,
for the
you know
era-
what I mean?
for the era it was-
Social, it is a form of social segregation.
it is.
But I understand.
Well, and
like
the same thing
like,
happens
you know,
nowadays, but it's not just multiple locations. It's one location. You just have the ability to choose in a different way. And we'll get to
That's
that.
that's a little different.
We'll get
you know?
to that.
Yeah.
But the 80s saw the change in this with the technology that started coming out in the 80s. VHS players where you could actually purchase VHS tapes and watch these at your home.
Right.
Which shot the industry up, especially in rental places. Now, Blockbuster never carried any X-rated movies.
And people ask for them.
Regularly, actually.
Yep.
But most of your mom and pop rental shops, which is one of the ways that some of the mom and pop rental shops were able to stay around,
Yeah.
they did have a back room that had
Room with
extra
a curtain
movies.
in front of it.
Yeah, sometimes
Yep.
that beaded curtain thing.
Yeah.
But this gave people the opportunity to watch these movies in the privacy of their own home.
Yes.
And this changed the way that porn was consumed. Before that time, you had the theaters or you had magazines. Playboy
Right.
being probably the more cultured of them. And let me make sure that people understand. The kind of the three big were Playboy, Penthouse, and Hustler.
Yep. There were other ones, but they never hit
Playboy
that.
was the most cultured probably of them, the most artistic of them.
Yeah.
And part of that had to do with the way that the pictures were shot for Playboy.
Yeah.
Playboy had a tendency to focus more on the upper half of a woman's body.
Up to a point.
While they were focusing on the lower half, the one thing that Hugh Hefner at the time wanted to make sure that was never seen in any of the pictures for Playboy was a woman's anus.
Oh.
And he didn't want a full bottom view of the outside of her vagina. You do like the top view where you'd see a little bit of hair or whatever, the landing strip,
Interesting.
whatever they did there. But he wanted it to be a little more artful and tasteful.
Yeah, that was always kind of his thing.
Which is why celebrities more often would do a Playboy spread.
Right, and that's what it caught. It caught a lot. It was marketed to be more highbrow.
A little bit more so.
Than your-
Whereas Hustler
yeah.
and Penthouse, they shot from every
Because they
angle. and
marketed
didn't
themselves
care.
as what was called a gentleman's magazine.
Yes, exactly.
They were marketed as that. They were not they weren't marketed as a nudie mag or
No, they
anything like
weren't.
that. It was something a little bit more. There was
little
a lot
more highbrow.
Yeah,
A little more highbrow.
the joke. The joke. I buy it for the articles.
Yeah.
It came from
interesting-
that magazine.
Interestingly enough, they did have some very interesting articles and some of the interviews that they did with celebrities, which they did do interviews with various celebrities, not always women, typically men, were actually
Yes.
some really good interviews.
Yeah,
They got some really interesting information
There
out
were
of
some
people
killer
with their
questionnaires
with their,
and some of that
yeah,
stuff.
with their interviews. But yeah, that was more the gentleman's way. But that was your way of consuming porn until the 80s rolled around. Mm-hmm. And this is the time we grew up in, the time where suddenly, again, the VCRs are in the house.
Yep.
You had all your VHS tapes, and then there were some VHS tapes that mom and dad kind of had hidden away
Yep.
that you weren't supposed to know about, but you did.
Oh, definitely.
And they may still have had some of the magazines. They hid those in various places. Some people didn't hide them as well. I knew a family that literally, they lived in a 2-story house. They had a 1 bathroom downstairs, and literally 15 nudie mags in one of the downstairs bathroom where you could easily see them and get to them.
Really? Whoa.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Very, very open family as far as talking about sexuality.
Really,
and
not
sex stuff.
hiding in a cardboard box in the top of the closet or nothing
Dude,
like that.
sitting in a trash can that's been used to turn into a magazine holder.
So weird.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
right there next to the toilet, totally in the open.
Huh.
Totally easy to see.
Weird.
I wasn't complaining about it when I got to be at that house.
Well, I bet you weren't.
Oh, not at all. Not in the
Probably.
slightest
I mean, if there was any you or any of your
I
other friends
perused.
probably perused.
bit. I perused.
Perused.
the
I
word-
probably would
no,
have stolen one and hidden it in between my mattresses, man.
Look up the word. Well, interestingly, I had a waterbed at that point, so I really couldn't.
Oh, yeah, you couldn't do
I
that.
couldn't put that in between the mattresses.
Yeah, I know.
I grew up with. I actually grew up most of my childhood with a waterbed. Yeah, scary. huh?
Wow.
Freaky. I love them personally, but that's a whole nother story.
Never been a fan of waterbeds. They're weird.
Well, it's because you didn't grow up on one, man.
I mean, my parents had one, but I never had one.
No, I had one for like 8-9
Just
years.
seemed like a bad idea. I think I had.
Oh,
actually,
no.
I think you know what?
Comfy.
I had a waterbed at one point. I ended up not liking it.
Hey, that's all right, man. I've always found them to be super comfy. But anyway,
Yeah.
point being, so anyway, with it, coming into the 80s, that you had this change in that you didn't need to go get the magazines anymore. You had these videos. Then you started having cable TV come in.
Yeah.
And people had the capability of having Cinemax, which showed kind of softcore stuff.
Right.
Or even paying extra each month and getting the subscription to Playboy.
Those were the friends' houses you wanted to go. You wanted to go stay the night at.
Yeah, you wanted to spend the night at their house.
Yeah.
I can say one of my friends in high school whose house I spent a lot of time at. I won't name him because just in case I don't want to get that out there with him. But yeah, his parents had satellite TV, and they had like 4 or 5 of the porn channels, and so.
Damn.
Every time I went over his house as a teenager, I was skipping between all the different porn
Splurging,
channels.
huh? Wow.
Oh yeah, it was nice to be over there. I mean, I didn't do anything except for watch them while I was there,
Right.
Because that's a little awkward in my mind.
Yeah.
But he did not watch them with me because he was doing other things at the time. But whatever. I don't care. I was getting to watch.
I mean,
them, and it was fun for me.
I don't know. Like, that's odd. Like, yeah, I mean, your friends kind of introduce you to that.
Yeah.
To be completely honest.
Well, no, my
normally-
friend. I can say my friends didn't introduce me. I was usually the one that introduced my friends to stuff.
Oh, you were the one who introduced your
Yes,
friends
I
to
was
the
the
porn.
one that
Okay.
was a problem.
No,
Yeah.
Okay.
I even got
that
chewed
makes
out.
sense.
I got chewed out one year because my cousin asked me where babies came from. He was like 2 years younger than me.
Oh,
so
no.
I figured I was like 13. I didn't see why he didn't know this.
He was
already.
11 and he didn't know?
He didn't know this already, so I told him, and I told him in as much detail as I was told when I was 5. And yeah, his parents were not happy about that one.
Well, at least you weren't just like, hey, here, quick, up into the family room. There's a channel you got to check out.
Check this magazine. You see that? That's the spot right there. But as we got older, you had those channels on TV. You had the magazines you could still go get. You had the Cinemax,
Yeah.
showing you the softcore stuff if you stayed up late enough at night.
Yep.
Aren't
Cinemax
you-
at like 2 in the morning.
Aren't you ready to go to bed yet? No, I'm not tired, Mom. You're not going to make it up in time to go to school. No, it's okay. I'm just going to watch TV for a little while.
Exactly.
Are you
You're
sure?
like 14.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. Like, you think you're slick hanging out like you're
And your
for
mom-
the
and
weekend
your
and
mom
Saturday
literally-
night.
Your mom literally goes back into her bedroom, crawls into bed with your dad and says, "Yeah, he's watching Skinamax. He's jerking it."
No, they knew. They knew. Like, everybody needs to come to terms
Yes.
with that right now. They knew.
They knew, and they should have accepted the fact that this is what teenagers
I was
are
never
gonna
bugged
do.
about it. I was never bugged about it.
I was never. Again, just the one time that I shared in the story. Funny enough, I told my dad. By the way, remember we had the discussion with Pop-Tarts, and we had the discussion about me taking too long in the bathroom. My parents asking me what I was doing in there. I told my dad that after we recorded, I said, "Hey, this is going to come out on the podcast. I want to let you know ahead of time that I said this in case you hear it or in case there's any question about it." He's like, "Wait a minute. I do remember having a conversation with you when you were like 14 or 15." And that's after we had moved away from the Bay Area and moved further up north in California.
Right.
He said, "I remember having a conversation with you at like 14 or 15 because you were taking forever in the shower. Is this the conversation you're talking about?" I'm like, no, Dad. That's not it. He goes, "What happened with that conversation?" I said, "No, that conversation took place." He goes, "Yeah, we told you had to do the shower quicker because we're living on a property with well water and a septic tank, so you can't take super long showers like that." He said, "You weren't doing that then." I said, "Oh, I was, but not in the shower at that point." I was. He said, "You claimed you were falling asleep in the shower." I said, "That's actually what I was doing. I was laying down in the shower and going to sleep.
What
It was
the hell?
too early in the damn morning for me to wake up."
Wow.
We had like an hour-long bus ride to go to school at that point, so we had to wake up super early to get dropped off at a bus stop super early. Yeah. So I'd fall asleep in the shower because I was freaking exhausted. And I was a teenager, so I needed to take a shower every day because I was stinky. Teenagers are stinky.
Yeah, they're stinky.
So it was literally me falling asleep. He's like, oh, okay. I don't remember the other conversation. I said, yeah, that was during such and such time. He goes, okay, yeah, my brain wasn't working right during that time. That's all right. I'm sure it happened. I said, oh, it happened. I can guarantee you that. But anyway, teenagers are doing it all the time. And my parents were good about, they never really said anything, made any comments to me about it.
Right.
Because they knew it was a healthy thing that teenage boys, and by the way, teenage girls should do if they feel the need to, if they feel the desire to. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but if the desire is there, go right ahead. It's safer than doing other things that you could do.
True.
But as we became teenagers, we had this wonderful invention that started being in everybody's home. And that would be the internet.
Yep.
And guess what, sir? I know what the first internet porn site was. Funny story around it, too.
Really?
The first internet porn site was a site called sex.com.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
In the early months,
dude, the internet came out, online websites went up for sale.
Yeah,
and some motherfucker bought that immediately.
He did.
Oh yeah, he knew.
But he did. But
because he knew people were going to look it up.
According to him, he did not initially intend for it to be a pornography site.
What did he intend?
He really has never said what his original intention was. But what ended up happening is somebody else ended up stealing the information from him and using it. And then legal battle.
Well, hold on. He bought the domain name.
Yes, and
it was in his name, and somebody stole the website from him.
Yes, and then made it a porn site, and there was a whole legal battle. Many millions of dollars exchanged in the result.
Whoa!
And it's
but that guy made a fucking mint.
Yeah,
anyway,
he made tons.
Yeah,
he made tons of money, so it's not that big a deal anymore. But I was trying to research.
That's crazy.
I was trying to research for this. How many porn sites there are now?
Oh, it's a stupid amount.
And yeah, I literally could not find any accurate information as to how many porn sites that there are now.
There's go-tos, like general go-to staples.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Yeah.
But remember, this is back when.
This is back in like early years.
Now it's way far beyond it doesn't matter now. Like it doesn't matter.
You really had to look for legitimate sites that weren't going to be putting all kinds of viruses and crap onto your computer.
Definitely, there's those, and dude, you would like porn. The evolution of porn access in the home, has been insane. Like the most sophisticated probably was, and when I'm saying legitimately sophisticated, was probably like VHS tape and DVD.
Yeah.
But when it came down to like, I don't know, like pay-per-view cable, like that kind of stuff.
Pay-per-view cable was
like
not
Playboy
was
TV
not
was pretty up there.
Playboy TV was up there, and then you're right. Eventually, when DVD technology started taking over things, DVDs were available left and right. In fact, funny enough, once internet technology started taking over, you were able to get DVDs for almost nothing. Yeah, magazines were throwing DVDs in when you buy a magazine, like at the newsstand or whatever, or at a gas station, or at your local what's the word I want to use, for lack of a better word, your local porn shop, where you can buy different supplies.
Liquor stores sell porn.
They'd have a DVD, right? They'd have a DVD in the magazine because DVDs were so cheap to be able to get information, and besides,
they were very, very cheap production. Yeah, exactly, and there was that too. But what I was getting at is that before porn was all over the internet, like it was. If you weren't paying for it, you weren't getting it.
No, you weren't getting it in any way, shape, or form.
The closest thing you could get to porn was maybe about 6 seconds flipping in between channels at like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And watching a scrambled image where you think you saw a tit. Like that's the farthest you got.
Or the few movies that were shown on regular stuff, and you'd get some boob shot. Because boob shot would be allowed. You get a moment of boob shot.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like the most you would have to do is look up.
That had some boob shot.
Did you know? I mean, to say "Did you know this" is dumb because it's obvious. There are entire websites dedicated to finding nudity in film.
Mr. Skin.
Yes. That's the big one, I think.
Yeah,
He's the main one.
Mr. Skin is one of the biggest ones to find the moments of nudity. When is so
The
and so
amount of
nude?
dude, this guy's got to be making a stupid amount of money to do
The
that.
guy
too.
who set up that
because
the guy who set
theoretically
it up?
speaking,
Yeah.
like what's funny about it is theoretically speaking, even though it's copyrighted imagery,
Yeah.
because it wasn't intended at that, it's technically transformative,
Yeah.
and therefore it is fair use.
Yeah.
And you can make money off of it.
And well, and the thing is, it's I remember there's paused movie moments, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Pause movie moments, screenshots, shit like that.
Oh yeah, I remember
That was like what people did back in the day. See, here's the thing: like back when the internet first started, or for like the first 10 years the internet was around, there wasn't enough data to actually do a movie file. Movie files always looked like shit. They were always like, and they took forever. It used
Just
to
a
take
single-
30 seconds to download a single image.
No, I remember when it took even longer to download a single image.
14K modem.
Yeah, taking
Right?
forever for
Way
anything
the hell
to
long.
download.
Yeah, absolutely. But there were people that would like. But then people would take, and your friends and their friends would take and collect and compile and burn onto a disc and.
I didn't have those.
They would
cool
always
friends.
have those. You didn't have
I
friends
didn't have
that
those
would
cool friends.
seriously.
Yeah.
Man, there were guys I knew that had like archive porn discs, and they'd make
Yeah,
copies.
nah.
They'd give them to you.
I didn't
Like
know
there
those
was,
guys.
those would happen. Those would happen. Like that would happen. Like or they would do that. Like people would be trading porn on IRC chat, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
But then that's when so there's this weird thing. This is. I feel like I'm bringing this up.
Okay,
which is odd.
You got this weird thing.
Yeah.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
Come back with this weird
Okay,
thing.
because it's gonna get dark and strange.
That's okay. We can get a little bit dark and strange because we have the access.
I'm not
going
to
to
like
now,
be completely explicit here, but it gets weird.
Just because we have the access to it now doesn't necessarily always mean it's a good thing or it's a bad thing. You take what you can get. All right, we're going to take a break right now.
All right.
We'll be back in a minute. Mike will explore some of the darker side of
Oh Lord,
the new porn.
that's all right.
All right.
Hey friends, this is Mike from the Xennial Chronicles reminding you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Xencron, spelled Xenchron, to keep up to date on all things TXC. And please check out our official website, theXennialChronicles.com, or if that's too much to type, Zencron.com. Thanks again for listening, and now, back to the show.
And we are back, everybody.
What's going on?
So Mike was going to take us down one of the dark rabbit holes of the early years of internet porn.
Well, yes. Okay. So back in the day, it was all right. I'm going to try to navigate this as properly as I can. I will not be explicit into any subject matter.
Okay.
But there were multiple ways that you could get porn. Like, definitely, it's pretty similar to now. The only difference is like there's like some fucked up stuff you can find, especially if you are willing to go to like 4chan and shit for some really messed up stuff.
Yeah.
I am not trying to recommend that to anybody.
No.
And I don't recommend that kind of stuff to anyone.
I mean,
But
let me
it
say,
used
let me say
to
this.
be
Let me say
like
this.
way less. What?
People may
Because
have
that's some dark web stuff.
Well, people may have their some
like the
fetishes.
dark web started very early.
People may have some fetishes, and some
Yeah.
of them are safe fetishes to be able to share with people. And it's good to find people you can safely share some of your fetish ideas with.
Yeah.
But understand that some of them may just be better to remain in the realm of idea and fantasy as
Yeah.
opposed to coming into the realm of reality.
I would
because
say
in
that'd
the
be the
realm of
best.
reality they may not be appropriate or they may be harmful to other individuals. And
Yeah.
the biggest key is, especially when you're trying to have sexual relations with other people, you don't want to harm the other person.
No,
you want to make
Lord,
sure
no.
that that's an enjoyable experience for everybody involved.
Absolutely
Remember,
not.
sex is like Chinese food. It's not over till you both get your cookies.
Cute.
Remember I said that.
I like that. No, that's a very, very solid and wonderful rule to stand by.
I like that one too.
Yeah.
Plus, I like Chinese food. Also
Yeah. Oh,
sex.
Chinese food's amazing.
But anyway, go on.
Yeah.
The darkness.
No, the dark part that I'm talking about, the part that freaks me out about it is that back in the day, most of the time there were friends of mine that I had. Again, I was a little bit into the IRC chat kind of stuff,
And
not
you
like
were a little
the
more,
porn. I didn't
you were a
go
little more
looking for
tech,
the porn there.
You were more tech involved than I was, too.
Right. So IRC chat was very, very proto messenger, okay?
Okay.
And not just one-on-one, it's entire chat rooms. You know what a chat room is.
Yeah,
there
I
are
did
chat
do-
rooms all over YouTube now.
I did do
chat
some-
rooms are everywhere.
I did do a
Right?
few chat rooms when I was in my younger
But
years.
back in the day, a straight up text looks like a docs prompt,
Yeah.
chat room, people, whatever. Like you as far as being able to navigate those, that was one thing. But I mean, I will tell you this: I had friends that shared some really weird stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
And I was not into those things.
Animal stuff, huh? Always animal stuff,
dude.
So much.
Why do you
stuff.
have to bring? Not you, but
Why do
that's
people
where I
have to bring
would.
that
That's
in?
where
Yeah.
I would. Yeah, I would be like, why do you have to bring?
Yeah.
That into it,
Stuff
like
that's just disgusting.
no, dude.
But anyway.
Like the words, could you just leave it to like just?
But the point,
I'm cool with like the magazine because at
Yeah.
least that's somewhat regulated.
Yeah.
Like not that. What the hell's wrong with?
well, and that
you
was
know,
that was the problem.
friend
in the,
person.
That was the problem in the early years of the internet with pornography.
And
is
that's
there was
essentially
very
I was
little-
getting at.
There was very little regulation in how it was being shared,
Right.
And how you accessed it. You had to worry about what kind of when you would go to a site or when you download anything.
Yeah.
What could be coming with it? What could be connected to it?
Right. There wasn't necessarily much when it had to do with establishment, and especially more so if you weren't paying for it.
Yeah.
That was some dangerous shit.
It was. But then you see a bit of a revolution as the internet gets bigger and more accessible, and especially once people start being able to access the internet from their handheld devices, their phones. I mean, keep in mind, people, there was a
that
time
porn,
not
porn
too
on
long
the
ago.
internet was way established by the time the iPhone came out.
It was, but there was still more of a shift.
Yeah.
In the sense that once you had these mobile devices that you could access the internet from anywhere and everywhere at any point in time,
Yeah.
you found a couple of companies really kind of trying to solidify the market for online porn. And to this
yeah.
day, you have a few sites that are kind of the go-to sites for most people.
What's crazy is most of those sites are on the same network. They're
Yeah.
the same people distributing to multiple sites
Yeah.
at the same time. It's all regulated. There's advertisements, there's money, there's memberships, there's all this stuff.
And you can get free content or you can get the upgraded membership content.
Right.
And what's nice about it is even with the free content, you're able to watch videos or see pictures.
Right.
Or whichever thing that whatever is your specific thing to have in the palm of your hand.
Yep.
Unless your hand is busy. And the fact that they're
People have two hands.
that they are high quality videos and pictures. They are not all virused, so you're not worried about damaging
Right.
your
That's
your
one thing is you're
computer
not
stuff.
down. Oh, yeah. Oh, we should have gone over that.
What? Please do.
Okay, so the first stage
Backtrail
of this,
back?
yeah, let's backtrail back for a little bit. What we're talking about and the reason why that's so important is that it obviously was not like that. The first bit of it used to be, IRC chat rooms,
Yeah.
sharing with people you don't know,
This is in the early days of the
trying to
internet.
get your hands on X film or whatever, or movie file or at
Yeah.
one point, when pictures wasn't doing it anymore.
Because there gets a point, and literally, we can talk about the progress of how porn is, at least
Right.
in my experience as a male growing up, teenager to adult, and I'm sure Mike can echo this experience. There comes a point where seeing that boob flash is enough.
Right.
Then there comes another point where if you got a hold of maybe an anime that had a little bit of something in it, that's enough.
Yeah.
Then when the internet came around and you got the pictures, or before the internet when you were able to get the magazines, then pictures in the magazines were enough. All you had to do was see that picture, and that was more than enough.
Well, that was okay. So it also depends on the cultural status of whoever the picture or whatever it is.
I will say that
because like a still image of like a still image of like Marilyn Monroe is super hot. Personally, the original spread, like I'm going way back to the classics here.
Never was a fan of Marilyn Monroe,
but
I will admit, when it came to Playboy, I paid attention to which major stars did Playboy
definitely
spreads, and there's a few that even to this day I wouldn't mind owning those specific issues of Playboy.
You should head down to the cave. They started dealing Playboys.
It wouldn't
like the original magazines. We found a stack of them over there last time we went.
When we're able to,
when they open back up,
when they open up and we're able to leave our homes appropriately and do shopping that's not necessity shopping.
Yeah,
but I remember when, for instance, I've professed my love and admiration for Debbie Gibson before. She did a spread in Playboy.
Oh yeah, that was like way later too.
Yes, it was.
It was like 20 years later.
It was, and I didn't care. I was just happy to see it.
No, that definitely, dude.
Tiffany did it. Tiffany did it too.
Tiffany,
yeah.
They were like the two hot redheads of the 80s. Wait, was Debbie Gibson blonde?
Blonde.
She was blonde. Yeah. Sorry, I always mix the two up, and Tiffany was the redhead.
Tiffany
right?
did it.
Yeah.
Tiffany Amber Thiessen did it as well.
Oh, nice.
Let's see. Elizabeth Berkley did, but you saw enough of her in that.
I was going to say Liz
movie.
Berkley was she was already like
Yeah,
that's
you saw
weird
more than
too.
enough of her in striptease.
It's really crazy because the most sought after ones were the ones that like would refuse to do nudity.
Yeah, oh,
Right?
for sure. Because it
Like
increases
anybody,
your
like
desire
here's
to
the
want to
deal,
see
like
it.
there would be no draw for any. There would be practically no draw for anybody that was in the cast of Game of Thrones at this point. If there were still magazines where that was done, it's been seen for the most part, unless it's been a long time.
No, there's two people in the Game of Thrones. You've not seen all of Game of Thrones, I'm assuming.
No.
There's two cast members that people would pay a lot of money to see them naked because you never see them naked in the in Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Okay, but I'm talking like if you saw like I'll name one. Let's say Emilia Clarke.
Yeah, I've
You've
seen
her
naked
a
pics
lot.
of her,
But that's
and I've seen her naked in the show.
yeah, and so that's like I mean, whatever. And now personally, when it comes down to stuff like this, I've always thought that Maxim was actually kind of cool about that because
Maxim
there
magazine?
was Maxim magazine because they still had shoots. They had photo shoots that were professional, but they were still hot and they weren't any straight up nudity.
No, they covered up all the
yeah,
tickly
it covered
bits.
up all the things, but like it was still artistically done. It was still hot. It was still done. I would consider done more artfully than. And
again,
I wouldn't say they were more artful than Playboy because Playboy had like they
had some pretty good artful stuff going on.
Yeah, but you're not going to see Tiffany Amber Thiessen in Penthouse, right?
Typically, no.
Not
No,
unless like
no.
pictures that were from her early career that were stolen and then sold to Hustler, like they did with. Didn't they do that with Vanessa Williams? Wasn't that the big thing with her?
Yes, that's what happened with Vanessa
They like
Williams. And
she
why
was a
got-
modeling shoot that was the pictures were sold without her consent or knowledge, and then it came out on the magazine,
And she got stripped
lost
of her
the Miss
crown.
she lost the Miss America crown. It was crazy.
But no, that was one of the nice things about Playboy. But anyway, as teenagers, sometimes the pictures were enough. Sometimes you'd want to get the
Right.
glimpses of movies. But even when the internet came, sometimes at first the pictures weren't enough because you got way more opportunity for pictures.
Yeah.
With way more diversity of pictures.
Yeah.
But like he says, there comes a point where the pictures aren't enough anymore. You need the movies.
You need the movies. And then the movies, it moved so slow. Because I remember, well, it moved fast, but the progression was slow. Like, technically, like, you had the pixels, and then the pictures they would load hella slow. And then and they were, like, limited colors and all this crazy stuff. You could see all the dots and the pixels and all the weird shit.
Yeah.
And then it moved on to the movies, but the movies were all low res, and they were, like, 10 seconds, and they were traded over, like, they were either on, like, Newgrounds or they were file sharing.
Yeah.
So you would get them through, like, LimeWire or Napster or Kazaa.
How many times did LimeWire ruin your computer?
Or
back
if you
in the
knew
day?
that, oh, yeah, dude, like, don't, like, even today, don't, just avoid Pirate Bay completely. That is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Like, for anything, it sucks, too, because, like, especially with the fact that, like, one of the things that I have that I like to fart around with is, like, gaming. I'm not trying to bring it to gaming, but gaming and ROMs, since Nintendo, a year or two ago, they started sending cease and desists and, like, trying to sue websites that featured ROMs openly on the internet. There's no way to get them now.
Wow.
You can't get ROMs on the internet anymore because they did the Nintendo Classic and all that. But such is also the same case, for the most part, with any porn you're trying to find that is not already on the market.
Yeah.
Well, excuse me. I take that back about, let's say 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
But it's been now, like, it's completely different. It's
and now
you log into Pornhub and you literally can just browse all of the movies that are there. And they're like 20 minutes long and shit. Like,
and
it's insane.
That's kind of the.
It's a full feature. It's used as an advertisement.
And that's kind of the thing is this is part of this revolution in technology that we've seen in our life, where it used to be we would have to figure out ways to sneak this and there was a stigma about renting porn movies back in the 80s and buying porn magazines. There was a stigma involved in it. And now it's so prevalent that literally everybody has porn at their fingertips at any point in time that they want to have it.
Yeah, it does.
I mean,
at that point, it doesn't even matter. There are adult shops that still sell porn.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, and there's some people that are still into, like, the classic stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's
They still want DVDs
there's
and
this
VHS
culture
and whatnot.
around old porn, like there is
There
around
is.
old film.
There
Like,
is.
There really is. But the that's.
But even
It
in
was,
this,
you know,
even in this
even
day
that,
and
and that
age,
thing, that stigma you're talking about, like, I actually, like, way back in the day, like,
Mm-hmm.
have you ever actually purchased have you ever actually gone into a store and purchased?
yes.
You have?
Oh, yes.
I did too. I did it, like, twice, and I felt really weird both times.
Were you with somebody?
No, I was by myself.
Okay.
Like, I
will
didn't
admit
go
it's been a
with
different,
someone.
It was a different experience with me because I was with somebody
Oh, okay.
and with somebody that
no, I
that
was single, and I was, like,
No,
super weird and embarrassed.
I was with somebody that could be identified by the way that me and them were interacting with each other.
Mm-hmm.
That was somebody that I was being intimate with at the time.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't as weird necessarily a thing. They were kind of
That,
seeing it
okay,
as-
so yeah, going into a shop like that is...
I've spent
Going
I
into
have-
a shop
I
with
have
a
spent a
significant
lot of
other
time.
feels extremely different.
I have spent a lot of time in adult shops, just so you know.
Going into an adult shop, shopping for that significant other, also, like, you carry a different air about you when you walk in. So that's a whole different deal.
doing
Yeah.
it. Even if you're by yourself doing it, if you're going to shop for your significant other,
Yeah.
it's a whole different scenario.
By the way, just to say something about this, the amount of incredible discreet courtesy that you receive in an adult shop,
Oh, it's fantastic.
as a couple or not,
It's fantastic.
that is some of the, like, adult shops are, as a guy who's worked customer service for 20 years straight,
yeah.
adult shops are the best customer service I've ever worked with.
Yeah, because I mean,
Period.
They're there to
They
try to
know
help you.
that is a personal thing, and
Yes.
they know that they have like, you guys had, like, they understand that like, you have their absolute full respect.
Yeah.
When you walk in, which is like,
Yeah.
that's
No, it's
sorry,
nice.
that's,
It
like,
gives you-
super cool to know.
It's
That
good and it's
changes the
comforting.
whole thing. Yeah.
because and this is kind of what I'm one of the things that I was finding interesting about this is I thought about this. Again, we've seen this technological revolution. We've gone from this thing that we could barely access when when we were born.
Yeah.
This thing was barely accessible by the masses.
For sure.
And by the time we reached adulthood, suddenly we had this capability for getting as much content almost as we wanted to. And now, like I say, it's at our fingertips. We have the ability to get any type of content that we want to within moments.
Yeah.
From our phones. And we've talked again about how the phones have changed so much in our lifestyle. This is the other thing that it brings to us, is access to a deep part of humanity, which is the part that represents our sexuality. We have so many in this, especially in this culture here in America. We have so many things that we define as the norms for sexuality. And I'm not just talking about heterosexuality and homosexuality and those stuff. I'm talking about just the various things that we are taught that are things we're supposed to be attracted to and we're supposed to find attractive, and the things that aren't acceptable to find attractive. For instance, I'm going to admit something here on this. I'm probably going to get in trouble for this with the wife when I get home, but it's okay. This is one of the things that people would classify under a fetish.
okay.
But this is a personal one of mine.
Okay.
I will admit I have a thing for feet.
Oh, okay.
And not in the way of doing anything necessarily sexually with them. I just find women's feet attractive.
Okay.
Specific women's feet. There are some that I've seen that are not attractive.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's understandable to have a preference
But
within
I
format.
I find women's feet to be attractive. And it's one of those things that you can very easily find, not even pornography, but just pictures of women's feet. There's a website that's dedicated specifically to celebrity feet. So if you are attracted to a specific celebrity, you can get a picture of their feet and see what their feet look like.
Okay.
And then there are actually porn websites where feet are involved in sexual acts.
Did you know that, speaking of, it is very, I didn't know about this until more recently.
Yeah.
It is very understandable and well known in
Yeah.
the creator community for YouTube
Yeah.
that if YouTube is shown to, if there is YouTube has an algorithm that searches for feet.
Yeah.
Like, not a person, but if feet are prominently featured in a YouTube video, it will become immediately demonetized because of the interpretation that it could be used in a pornographic fashion.
That doesn't surprise me because it's actually a very popular fetish.
It is.
And it's interesting because I've had questions asked to me about the fetish before when I've admitted it to some people. I will say this. It has to do with just feet only, not shoes. In fact, I abhor most shoe fetish type things. When it comes to my foot situation, because many people who have a fetish with feet, that like feet, that are attracted to feet, a lot of the fetish parts of it have to do with shoes that women are wearing. And
interesting.
Like being in high heels or being in, whatever.
Okay,
whatever.
I didn't know that was a thing.
For me, actually,
I could see. Look, man, Rule 34 at this point.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
But the shoe thing is not a thing with me. But there are many things like that where that's not surprising to me because foot fetish is actually a really major one. Quentin Tarantino has a foot fetish.
I did not know that.
It appears in almost all of his films at some point or another.
He puts feet in his film on purpose?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Or women barefoot in his films on purpose.
Huh.
Because it's part of his fetish.
I did not know that. Do they know about that when he films them? Or does he just, like... I was like, hey, I'm kind of into this, and I think your feet are beautiful. We're going to feature
It's probably pretty... I wouldn't surprise me if they're aware of it. I mean, it's something
I
that
bet
is
you
known.
he probably pays them for it as well. Just like, he's like, hey, look, this is going to be featured, but I'm going to, I'm going to take care of you on this and make sure that if you're okay with it, like, are you cool with that?
Joss Whedon is known to have a bit of a foot fetish as well.
Interesting.
And he has he has actresses that are barefoot fairly often. It's just one of those things that's, again, one of those things that is a very, very common fetish amongst men. And interestingly, it's almost always men for women's feet. Very rarely is it women for men's feet. But I personally have a theory on that. Think about this now.
Dude, feet are fucking ugly.
Well, think about it. We talked about the biggest porn magazines that were around during the last century.
Right.
Playboy, Hustler, Penthouse.
Right.
Those are the three biggest ones.
Okay.
Those are magazines detailing naked women typically. Right. Sometimes men involved, but for the most part naked women.
Yeah.
You think marketed for men.
Right.
But are they entirely marketed for men? I'm of the personal
I know
belief,
many women that would
be
easily
interested
pick up
in
any one of those.
I'm of the firm belief that the reason that those magazines reached the heights that they did within the porn industry, and why I personally think there are many that argue that the reason behind it is because men are the bigger consumers of porn, and I see that point.
Yeah.
And even with the porn videos nowadays, it seems to be more centered on the various women within the porn. And again, I see the point of men are more the consumers. But I also personally believe that the main reason for that is the woman's body is so much better to look at for anybody.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Women's body, work of art. Men, just like their feet, they're ugly. We are all ugly. There's a few pretty men, but not really. Not really very many. It's better to focus on the female body. But again...
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that.
The idea that we have this at our fingertips in the way that we do, and it gives us the ability to delve into some of these fetishes, some of these desires that we have, and hopefully find ways to experience them and work through them that don't require inappropriate and deviant behavior with other people. Well, maybe deviant is okay to an extent as long as both parties are consenting, but inappropriate behavior with other people, putting people in different ways, putting people in different situations that they're not comfortable in.
That is okay. That is a big one.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, definitely.
If there is, like, everybody has their preferences.
Yeah.
But if there's anything that I am absolutely completely against, it is any situation where I am understanding that there is a lack of consent.
Yeah.
Like a true lack of consent.
Well, and
like
actually,
honestly, it could be like the freakiest stuff on the planet, as long as all parties are consenting.
And so there are some videos,
and there are videos that film the consent before or after,
and after,
or what have you.
Before and after, they'll show the consent. Cool? They'll show that everybody's good. The video may look like a person is getting brutalized sexually by another person,
right?
But then you see the before and after of it, and it's part of it's basically an act that they're putting on, that it's being brutalized. It's something they've actually agreed to be a part of,
exactly,
and are possibly even getting pleasure out of. I mean, you honestly don't know what each different person
If they-
does,
yeah, and
does
that's
derive
one-
some pleasure from.
That's
you know?
yeah. They should, and if they're not, there's a problem.
Well,
there is a problem. People not enjoying.
Oh, yeah.
Look.
If
Period.
if there's no
I
consent
feel uncomfortable
involved, then-
being. Yeah, I feel uncomfortable being witness to something that would even remotely look like it is non-consensual in any way.
which I understand.
I feel really weird about that stuff. But if it is known to be like, again, like I said, you could
You know that you're watching people that
to
are
get
consented.
if you know that
and
you're
this is
watching
part
people
of
that
the-
have consented, and
well, and
that's
this is part
an
of the act, and
right?
and it's also part of the act to try to help maybe somebody who has some of these more what could be if you were to actually act out some of these fantasies, they would be a negative fantasy to act out. But the ability to be able to watch something like that and
Yeah.
get some of that fantasy out of your head by watching consenting people do it.
Yeah.
And who knows, you may be able to find a partner where you two are able to work out some role play
Right.
that is able to deal with some of those fetish issues in a safe and welcoming environment where both people can still be consenting of the situation.
Yes.
And both people can still find the things that they want in it.
Yes.
You know, porn is actually a really good thing to, in many ways, deal sometimes with the well, no, I don't want to say it that way. If you find the right porn, it gives you a better insight into, for instance, like the BDSM community than the stupid, idiotic, and hurtful
there's
50
a bad
Shades of
stigma
Grey
on-
movie.
that movie.
Those movies and
freaking
those
terrible.
books have no true understanding of the BDSM community and what really happens within that.
No, and it got a huge backlash when it came out too. The books,
should
the
have.
films, like
It should have,
The
and
films
I
were
mean-
done just because they were, just because the books were
the
popular.
Books sold so much, and the thing is, they are so not appropriate representation of
No.
the way the BDSM community works. It is all about being able to trust the other person and be open and connected to the other person that
biggest
you're involved
problem
with.
that I have with that, with the idea of that, first off,
Yeah.
on top of the fact that it is wholly unrealistic and
Oh, yeah.
blatantly stupid in many instances.
and is also just, I don't know if you know, but the 50 Shades of Grey started out as Twilight fan fiction.
Yep.
There we go. You did know, sir. I'm proud of you.
I did.
Which
Once
makes it
I saw,
even
which
worse.
makes more sense.
But it makes it even worse, though.
Yeah.
you
Oh
take
my
an already-
God.
you
you
take an
see-
already
yeah.
horribly
She got a
written set of books.
Yeah, she got a cease and desist request.
And then
from
changed
the
names.
Twilight, like, yeah, she's like, okay, well, I'll just do this and it'll be fine. And then it turned into a hit anyway, which
Yeah.
I'm so pissed at.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. Like, who are...
Well,
who?
that and
Man?
the section sheet. Have you ever read the books?
I have seen enough excerpts to...
Okay, no, I've read the books.
Oh, God.
I've read the books.
Why did you read all of... You read all of them?
No, I read the first one. Okay, let's be
All the
clear.
way?
I read the first one all the way through because I wanted to see what
I
the
read
hype
the
was.
synopsis and it was
No.
ridiculous.
I wanted to see what the hype was. First of all, she is an asinine writer. Second of all,
Oh, yeah, she's a
second
terrible
of all,
writer.
I
She
just wanna
writes
let you-
Twilight fan fiction.
I just want to let people know, whoever's listening to this, if you read that book and you thought that any of the sex scenes that she described were risque in any way, shape, or form, come live for a day in my brain. Because I guarantee you, everything that she has in there is so mundane in comparison to the stuff that my imagination
Here's the
comes
problem
up
that I
with.
have with it, though. Here's the problem that I have is that it's actually it's not about it being mundane because the sex acts
no.
are extremely
No, they are. They're
like,
so
come on.
mundane sex acts.
Yeah, they're
but
extremely
it's more,
mundane.
It's more
but
of the
here's
fact that if this dude was poor, if the main dude was poor, this would be some girl that got kidnapped and locked in a trailer.
That's what
and-
I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is Stockholm Syndrome,
Totally,
the book.
completely, and utterly.
That's the problem. She shows
But
up
so's-
to his back
but
room
so's
and has
Twilight.
no idea what's going on. He shows up with a contract?
Twilight-
Are you out of your mind?
Twilight is basically Stockholm Syndrome as well, but that's
That's true.
a whole nother story. Maybe we'll do.
oh, man.
Maybe we'll do a deconstructing Twilight episode at some point.
Oh, God, your wife's going to kill you.
Yes, she probably will. But you know what? It's okay. I'm an immortal vampire anyway, so I'll come back. But no,
No,
like,
dude,
I
that's
was
the
saying,
biggest problem that I have is with the fact that it paints that culture in a horrendously negative
and-
light in all of the worst ways.
and then it
First
makes
off,
this-
it G-rates it practically.
Yes,
it
very much so.
Disneyfies the hell out of that
even
culture.
though it shows, even
but
though the
then
movie
on
shows
top
some
of that,
nudity
it
and some
sells,
sex.
but it also sells this. It also sells it. The problem is it Disneyfies the sex itself,
Yeah.
and then it sells abuse as a sexual fetish.
Yes.
That is not what that is.
No, that's not how BDSM works. It's
No.
really not about abuse. It's actually about being able to find control of your own sexuality and your own sexual enjoyment. It's about
Yeah.
controlling it.
Exactly.
For instance, in a true BDSM relationship, you have a dominant and a sub, right?
Right.
A dom and a sub. Who's
Yeah.
who's in control?
The dom.
No.
The sub?
We have to give you an
I am
education.
not 100.
No.
I'm not. No, here's the deal. The
I
reason,
did-
okay, so I think I understand where you come in, and
Okay.
I'm sorry that
No.
I was thinking of the acts themselves, which technically
even-
still
no,
would work.
even-
You're correct.
even in the
because
acts
the sub
themselves.
is the one who is in control of the consent.
Yes.
That makes perfect sense to me.
And the
I
su-
had
and
to think. I
everything-
thought about it on a surface level for a second. I
Yeah,
apologize.
no worries, no worries.
But no, that makes perfect sense because if the sub is not safe word, if the
Yes.
sub is not cool with it,
Yes.
the sub stops the game.
Well, no, everything that's happening is typically for the sub's benefit sexually, not the dom's benefit.
Yeah,
The
that's why
dom
the
is-
dom gets that, dude. That's why there's paid dominatrixes.
Exactly.
they're
How
providing
many
a service
paid-
like a psychiatrist.
You don't hear about paid subs. You hear about paid doms.
exactly.
Because what the dom does is the dom helps the sub live out their sexual fantasy.
Could you imagine a paid sub? I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
believe that would be a prostitute, depending upon the culture.
Technically speaking, actually wouldn't even be a prostitute because what subs what
As
what,
crude
I
as
mean,
that was to say, I didn't mean it. And
No.
let me slightly backtrack on that. I mean that the culture
it would be more-
of street the culture of street hooking in general that's very unregulated. And
Well, no, it is. And
there
let me
is a
let me add.
Yeah.
I honestly think that a paid sub wouldn't be a paid sub. A sub that's not in control is not a sub.
Yeah.
It's a sex slave.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like
it's a sex slave.
that's when consent goes out the door. A paid sub would be the
But no,
reason why I
everything-
say the reason why I say that is because there is obviously a human trafficking
Yeah.
culture
Oh,
that
yeah.
happens, and that's where I was kind of going with that. I was going with a
Different-
paid sub as human trafficking victim.
Different podcast.
Yeah, completely.
But no, that's the thing. And you're right. Those movies take the culture and they turn it on its head in the sense that the dom is the one in control, and that is not the way the culture works. The dom is there to service the needs of the sub. The sub is there.
I
the sub is
apologize
there
for my
literally
lack
to-
of epiphany until I explain
And that's
myself.
another one we can have another podcast where we talk a little bit more in depth with it.
That
But
would make
what
sense.
happens is what I'm trying to reference here with this podcast
Yeah.
is the fact that having this porn more accessible to us, the ability to express ourselves sexually in a way that's so much more personal, so much more accessible.
Right.
We can take it with us wherever we want to go. We have privacy level with it that is unheard of from before.
Right.
We have the ability with that, hopefully, to be more understanding of our own personal sexuality, make it easier to communicate with our sexual partners what our sexuality is, what our limits are, where we find our enjoyment, where we find our attraction
For sure.
to things. And this has given us an ability to be so much healthier sexual beings
Yeah.
than what we've been able to be in the past. I mean, again, there's been that stigma for the long time that porn is for men. Porn is something that's not good. Porn is something that you should feel ashamed about getting.
Yeah.
And you've had only limited ways to get it. Now, having this access to it, this gives us the ability to be better sexual beings than what our parents were and what our grandparents were.
Yeah, because I can if I may add to that,
Yeah.
the culture of sexual repression for as long as it has been
Oh, God,
has
yeah.
become dangerous.
It
and
has
it
been.
has become it has become oppressive.
Yeah.
And as much as many of these people that are into the culture of sexual repression, regardless of what type of background they may be, religious or political or
Yeah.
otherwise, they're misinterpreting the point.
Yeah.
The point is that this establishes both a capability of psychological balance for
Okay.
those that are into it,
Yeah.
into just sexual or porn culture in
Yes.
general. But it also establishes a level of control for those actors or actresses, more likely, that are
Yeah.
involved in it, because they have control over their
Sexuality.
They have control not only of their sexuality, but they have control over their image. They have control over their confidence, their professionalism. They have control over that. This culture is much more beneficial, I think, to the betterment of society.
Very much
than
so. I agree.
It gets credit for.
I agree completely, and that's why it's something to look at as this has been, as much as all these other great things have happened within the last almost 40 years of the Xennial lifespan. This is one of those things that should be up there with it. The availability of porn, people think of it as such a dirty thing, but honestly, having that available in the way that it is, not just to our generation, but to the generations that come past us, beyond us, younger than us, this gives them the ability to have representations of their sexual feelings accessible to them, and hopefully demystify something that should still be an important. I'm not saying this right. Let me get back to what I'm really trying to say.
Okay.
It is an important part of our lives.
Yeah,
it is an important part of being human, and we should have the ability to talk about it, express it. I mean, just the fact that we grew up in the time frame where all this stigma existed, and so you were a little bit apprehensive about talking about this.
I very much was
when we first came up with it. I grew up in a household that was a lot more open about sexual discussion than I'm sure yours was growing up. And so
I was very intimidated by the culture of your household, your parents.
Oh God, yeah.
Very much initially.
Honestly, was it my parents? Was it both of my parents?
It was your entire family.
Really?
Yes.
It wasn't my mom? Because she was kind of the instigator of all that discussion.
Yeah, and all of her offspring, including you.
Okay, you got that right. We learned from it. Okay, I'll give you that one. No, and that's the thing is I grew up in a very, very open household when it came to talking about sex and sexuality. It was never something that was not available as a topic for discussion. And I'll admit my wife was even quite astonished when she became part of the family and how open my parents were about it. How my mom basically kind of set it up so that her and I could have sex for the first time. So,
oh, that's sweet.
Yeah,
Thanks,
cool. Mom.
Yeah,
thanks.
That's sweet.
You got my brain working towards the idea of starting to masturbate, and you got me laid. So awesome, Mom. You're
you know
awesome.
what? That just meant that she was a cornerstone of support.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Thanks, Mom. I'm glad you got me laid. I'm still married to her, so it was well worth it.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the thing is, I was
really weird because I didn't have any of that. I grew up in a very, I was essentially a real sheltered kid, as you could probably already obviously tell. But there was definitely a lot of repression in the household in general. Nobody ever talked about it. It was just this. It wasn't a subject. It was not a subject,
and that's the thing.
It was weird. Whenever I felt very strange, whenever the subject came up.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad I got to have that kind of upbringing, and it's why I firmly believe this is something that needs to be talked about. This is something I'll admit I went through a prude phase in my life where I was anti pornography, anti all that stuff. Most of that was me dealing with my own manhood and feeling whether I was enough of a man for things or not. It was my own personal issues. But I've people grow, people learn, and I've gotten to the point where it makes more sense to me. This having porn available for people, destigmatizing it, and the beauty of us being able to hold it right there in the palm of our hand, this is some of the greatest things that we have going for us. And again, I'm all for it. People, well, if you're still shut indoors when you're listening to this and you got your significant other with you, find some porn to watch together. Find out what each of you likes watching porn. Realize that it's going to be difficult for each other to sometimes let each other know what things you do and don't like, because you're having to give so much of yourself that you don't always give to anybody. You kind of keep locked up in secret. But try to be accepting, try to be understanding, try to know that just because they like, girl on girl porn, just because your wife likes girl on girl porn, that's not a bad thing, bro. That's actually a good thing. But I'm just saying, be understanding that people have some of the thoughts they have. They can't always control them. The more that you can talk with people about this, have people to share it with, the better your mental health will be. I firmly believe the better your relationship will be. And if you're lucky and do it right, the better your sex will be. And honestly, isn't that what we want?
That's what we all want, man.
Exactly.
Who would say no to better sex?
Thank you all for listening to us talking about pornography. Hopefully we've inspired you. I wanted to give a couple of porn stars as people to look out for, but
Oh,
you know
boy.
what? We'll not worry about that. Go find your own fun. Okay?
I like that.
I think
I like
you-
that.
Mike, where can people listen to us?
You can listen to us at the XennialChronicles.com or Zencron.com, spelled XenChron. We are also on all the podcast places, TuneIn and Google,
Spotify.
and Apple and Spotify, and we are also on YouTube. Go subscribe to our channel if
Please
you're listening
do.
to this on YouTube. I'd be surprised. But like, comment, and subscribe.
Is it gonna block
with your
us on
favorite-
YouTube?
I don't know. I think it might because we're
might.
putting in the title. Yeah,
I mean,
they
we
may
don't-
no, it won't block us, but it'll demonetize it if there's anything. Which we're not
We're
even
not
there
even making
anywhere.
money anyway.
We're not making any money
We're not-
doing. You think
no.
we make money?
Not really. Not doing this. I mean, I find it amusing to listen to us sometimes, although to be honest, it's been a while since I've listened to the entirety of one of our podcasts. 'Cause
You're
I
the
get-
one who cuts it off 5 minutes in.
I do get a little bit tired of listening to the fat guy talk. He's annoying. Besides, I hear that voice in my head all the time.
Oh yeah, that must
and
be
I
terrible.
he's the only person I lose arguments with on a regular basis, and I don't like it.
You should see a doctor.
I have. Not that kind, though. Screw that.
Yeah.
I don't want them to get me my own personal jacket. I don't need that crap.
My own personal jacket.
Anyway, thank you all for listening. And I'm not sure what we'll be back with when we come back next time, but we will be back sometime next week.
Thank you guys so much. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in, friends. The journey continues next week.